If you personally wanted to get involved with supporting this channel, you can do so by following the links in my description for Hello and welcome to my backyard. This week I was trying to come up with my video idea and I thought, what if I don't come up with my video idea? What if I don't come up with any of my ideas? What if I used a computer to come up with my ideas? See, I remembered that on the interwebs there are these things. They're random idea and art prompt generators. So today, we are going to make art chosen by my computer. I kind of looked down. It's because my computer's recording my audio right now. That's going on. Y'all know I'm a huge fan of creative constraints, taking away control, experimenting, challenging yourself, trying new things. Well, let me tell you, that's what happened. So excited for you guys to see it, and let's dive in. This is our generator. If you guys want to check it out, you are welcome to. I decided to go with a elaborate prompt, and I wish I could have recorded myself or had thought to record myself reacting. A finger painting depicting hell with the theme, her nets she spread. This is pretty deep stuff. Okay, but before I get into other things, I think this beginning stage I had some really nice things going on, so I just wanted to point it out before I kind of ruined it. And I also want to make a little disclaimer. You guys see my paintings through all of the process, and I don't have always that perfect objective view of when it is going in a really nice, good direction, and I completely fudge it up. It happens sometimes. So, you know, there's no edit undo. And that's a weird thing actually about making art in this day and age. With all the editing I do on Photoshop, sometimes I just think in my head I'll be painting, well, less so now, but I used to. I'll be thinking the words literally, edit undo when I get to a certain place in a painting, and I just completely regret my choices. Whew, all of that said, yeah, so this is what I was able to come up with. I'm gonna add some figures in a second. I don't know how much to actually go into the interpretation of why I chose things the way I did. I wanted to create this really beautiful scene in the center. I mean, as beautiful as you can with finger painting. Honestly, I challenge you guys to try to do a figure painting. It's incredibly hard. I was actually really happy with what I was able to accomplish, but there were definitely frustrating points where I was like, oh, if I only could use a paintbrush for this one part, there's actually good things going on and I could turn this into a really good painting. Surprisingly though, my roommates, they came home and they actually kind of liked this painting. Something that I love about doing these kind of challenges is just with creative constraints, you have to think outside of your normal box, your normal realm of what you would do, and you come up with really interesting things. So I'm not going to interpret this entire painting for you. If you want to know though, that figure on the left, am I saying that? The crouching one, that would be depictive of me in my personal hell, and I definitely wanted it shrouded in kind of this separation, this kind of like cave-like thing. I don't want to go into interpretation. I want you guys to think about it if you're interested, but I'm gonna leave it up to you. The next prompt we got was to create 3 pictures with the theme die, D-Y-E, depicting discontent, fear, and then relief. So I didn't actually have dyes to work with on this, but I figured that watercolor echoes a lot of the same or similar effects. So I did that. It has this watery pigment in a similar fashion. And I also did use acrylic in some areas, you can see with that maroon color coming in. This whole thing is going to change orientation. The first one is discontent that I'm working on. So I'm going to be flipping it momentarily, and then black is where I really felt like the most pungent place I could bring in the idea of discontent was. I actually thought that this composition looked better turned a different way, but I felt like discontent needed to be really the foremost component. Sorry, we're going into another painting, but I'm going to keep talking about discontent. And I put it up at the top, this giant block, which was kind of covering out some of the more exciting, colorful elements going on. Because that's kind of what discontent feels like, right? It doesn't matter what you have that's beautiful, it can kind of cloud everything. Okay, on the left was our fear, and on the right was relief. On the right was relief. So, of course, with fear, there's some general colors that kind of come to mind, so I use a little bit of a darker palette and some reds, but I didn't want to go too stereotypical, and I think I could have done a better job capturing the idea of fear, honestly, but that's what I made. And then relief, I went with gold and some bright colors and circles and all of that. Next, we are capturing a sense of rejection, and the prompt is Forest of the Night. So yeah, what am I going to do with that? For a lot of these, I had some idea generation that came in the form of looking at Pinterest boards and kind of just trying to see if I could read those themes in different images I have saved onto my boards. I started with this painting using a base layer of watercolor, and then on top of it I went with acrylics. I kind of used the watercolor as my underpainting to get a sense of colors I wanted in composition. It was just a fast sketch out. I went through a couple different variations with the trees. The original ones I hated so much, and I was kind of bummed about that because it meant I had to layer up paint and create a texture on the page I wasn't super fond of. But I'm really glad that I did it because the overall aesthetic ended up being a lot better in my opinion. The idea of rejection I decided to incorporate by having this tree line, the red tree line in the middle ground, where all of the that forest of the night are collected together, and then in the foreground having a solemn one standalone tree. The colors are kind of a weird choice maybe for the idea of rejection, but I was really interested in playing up this mystical theme, and I mean it could really be interpreted in different ways, honestly. Rejection just happens to be with what I was supposed to be trying to achieve. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't do all of these as fantastically as I could have. I am curious how you guys would have chosen to interpret these images if you've been doing them yourself. And I think this is a really worthwhile challenge to try out on your own. So if it is something you want to do, go for it. I did this sponsored post on Instagram recently, and they sent me all these children's educational kid supplies. So I incorporated some of those to do some mixed media with some pencils and washable markers. Okay, so next, this one. I don't know why there's this recurring dark theme, but we're portraying a sense of horror with elaborate rituals, ceremonies, and silks. And I needed to show these images because this was my inspiration for silk, and I did not completely do it correctly, but it was my effort. You know, this was the effort. So I needed to show you what the inspo was so you could know that I wasn't just ignoring that part of the prompt. I really did try. I think that those images of silk are so gorgeous. That's why I have them saved, and I would love to be able to do them well. But yeah, this initial stage is my attempt with acrylics, and it's not great, but it did set me up with some really interesting texture and ideas for when I developed the rest of the image. Pretty much at this stage, I was actually doing a coaching thing for Patreon, and I showed it to Josh, the person I was coaching, and he kind of had this interpretation that the two shapes on the right and left kind of looked like figures dancing around a fire, which I thought was super cool. If I was more figurally representative, talented in that area, maybe I would have gone with something like that, but I am really happy with the way this all turned out. I definitely went with the landscape route because, you know, that's my area. That's what I know how to do right now. That's what I like doing, and it came out super magical. So, okay, so the pink. The whole pink was the inspiration part from the silk theme that I was supposed to put in, and it created a really interesting kind of monochromatic feel, coloring, composition to this. I created multiple little fire pits along this trailway to play into the idea of these rituals and ceremonies, and then I wanted to play with glowing fire and putting little specks of embers going up, putting in little smoke trails, and just really trying to make the whole thing glow and to have this very magical feel to it. The red and pinks definitely does bring in kind of a, I don't know, it's always going to reference, I think in a little way, blood or like, but it's, I don't feel like it's too dark still. I felt like this overall for me had much more of a glowing magic feel to it, which I was really happy about since a lot of the random images I had to generate ended up being kind of darker. Whew. Okay, so let me know what you guys thought, how you would have done them differently, or what you think about the images I created, if you would have changed certain aspects about it. I would love to hear in the comment section. Also, if you would like to buy any of these pieces, they are available on robinsealark.com.
I hope you guys enjoyed that video. If you did, make sure you're subscribed for new videos coming out every week, or follow me along on my social media platforms throughout the week. And I will see you guys next Friday or Saturday or something like that.